Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Donovan, for that very kind introduction. I'd like to congratulate all of today's honorees and all of the speakers that came up before me and thank them for their inspiring words and their work. I'd also like to recognize the work of HUD and under Secretary Donovan's watch because the people who are in need have been given a face and a voice. HUD is not just implementing policies and programs to build communities, but they're in fact championing the green sustainable development. I'm honored to have this opportunity to join you here today, and I understand that for some of you, seeing the name John Bon Jovi on today's list of guest speakers may have raised an eyebrow. So I'd like to take just a few moments, if I may, to share with you how I became involved in community service, becoming an advocate for affordable housing, and why I'm a part of the greater conversation today that we're having at World Habitat Day. Like each of you, I've grown into the person that I've become. I'm a husband, a parent, and a concerned, committed citizen of the world. By trade, at least I hope some of you know, I'm an entertainer. For the past 25 years, I've toured the United States and most of Europe. I've been to Asia, to Africa, Australia, Central and South America. I've seen progress, and I've seen change, some for the better, some not. The world, I believe, is in a constant state of change, and in my eyes, it's become smaller, more accessible, and more interdependent. We're more connected to one another now more than ever, and I believe that we are therefore compelled to help those that we see who are in need, because now, more than ever, no man is an island. But where does one begin? Pick a topic, from free trade to famine, from climate change to civil unrest, healthcare reform to the homeless. The challenges seem overwhelming. Some issues are so big that it's hard to wrap your mind around them. It'd be easy to accept defeat, to think you couldn't possibly make a dent, but then I believe you'd be wrong. Over the years, I've been asked to lend my name and my efforts to many worthwhile causes, and I've done so. But it's only within the last 5 years that my personal goals for philanthropy and community service have come into a clear focus. So what did I do? I bought a football team. Stay with me on this. In 2004, I became the co-owner of an arena football team. I didn't name the team after an aggressive animal or a warrior. We named it the Philadelphia Soul. I didn't care if you were a Bon Jovi fan. I didn't care if you were a football fan. Everyone believes they have soul. And the soul of our organization was going to be the commitment to make a positive difference in the community. I wanted winners on the field, sure, but more importantly, I wanted winners off the field. So before we played our first down, before we sold a ticket, we found 4 local causes who were underserved and in need of our help. We took our first dollar and we partnered with 4 worthy charities. So whether it was the Northern Home for Children, which is a foster home that didn't have a playground or computers, or the local Covenant House that didn't have enough beds, or the AIDS hospice that flat out just needed money, whatever anybody needed, the Soul would try to help. The cornerstone of the franchise's identity was our community service, and we established ourselves over those first few seasons by my playing the role of Robin Hood. But our foundation found its real focus and my inspiration on a cold night in Philadelphia. I was staring out the window of a hotel I was staying in, and I saw a homeless man sleeping on the steps of City Hall. I didn't want to just help him. I wanted to fix it. In America, the richest nation on the planet, thank you, and in Philadelphia, the birthplace of our nation, we had neighbors living in poverty without so much as adequate shelter. And I, for one, did not believe that our forefathers had that in mind when they were writing the Declaration of Independence in our Constitution. I've come to realize that homelessness is an equal opportunity offender. It doesn't discriminate. It affects the young, the old, black and white, Christian, Muslim, Jew alike. It doesn't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, or if you're in Washington, D.C. or Los Angeles, California. But homelessness is an issue that we can address without having to wait for a scientist to develop a pill or discover a cure. It's a crisis that we, in fact, can tackle. It'll take money, it'll take sweat and time and the patience to persevere. Now, I'm a big believer in what I like to call the power of we. It's an idea that when we work together, we can accomplish incredible things. The core of that belief is that we can and will make a difference. The power of we is the voice that says we are our brothers and sisters' keepers. We're only as healthy as the families in need of health care, and we're only as wealthy as someone who's going to go to bed tonight hungry or will sleep on a grate outside of a city hall. So from our franchise's commitment to community, we created the Soul Foundation. We're a small nonprofit organization which initiates partnerships with other nonprofits, government agencies, impassioned heads of state, corporate financiers, philanthropic professionals, and individuals, the mom and pops of the private sector. And like anything successful, either a football franchise or a rock band, it takes teamwork. We worked very hard on this foundation, in fact, as hard as I've ever worked on anything. We live and we learn each and every day, and it's been an incredible education. My mentor these years has been a sister of mercy. Her name is Sister Mary Scullion, and she's the founder of Philadelphia's Project Home. During one of my many visits with Sister Mary, we toured a street in North Philadelphia's most run-down neighborhood. The homes were in horrible disrepair, and it was the kind of place where mothers were too scared to let their children play outside, where elderly residents hid after sundown. In fact, even the police avoided some of the blocks. Yet these rundown row homes stood right alongside other longtime good neighbors who worked very hard to make their houses homes and their streets safe. The question posed to me was, how could we bridge these two realities? Sister Mary asked for help. Could the Soul Foundation possibly provide enough funding to rebuild just one of these homes and bring some attention? I asked her what it would take to rebuild the block. And it wasn't going to be just about the money, because when they say it takes a village, and it certainly does and then some, I realized that by involving the neighbors and the neighborhood, that Peter Piper approach to pushing sprawl, pushing the bad guys further away, one street, one block, one neighborhood at a time, was the beginnings of something. So within a year of that conversation, Project Home and the Soul Foundation renovated 15 row homes on that block. They were all green, and all 15 of those families now had a place to call home. I'd like to share with you, if I may, just one story from that build. On a visit to that construction site, I had a conversation with a lady by the name of Helen Brown, who's a longtime resident of the neighborhood and a friend of Project Home. She was sweeping the sidewalk in front of her row home, and I stopped and I asked, "Mrs. Brown, this block is awfully clean. Have you been sweeping it all by yourself?" And she smiled, she looked at me, she said, "No, I've had plenty of help pushing this end of the broom, because it's pushed more than dirt. It's pushed away those bad guys. And just in case they come back, I got this end of the broom." True story. So the power of we reclaimed that block. Our work in Philadelphia may have started small, but we continue to think big. And today, the Soul Foundation is responsible for over 200 units of affordable housing, from Houma, Louisiana to Los Angeles, from Detroit to Newark, New Jersey, and I'm very, very proud of the accomplishments so far, but I know that there's a lot of work yet to be done. We did it one house, one street, one neighborhood, one city at a time. See, if I told you, listen to the football analogy, you might have thought it was crazy, but the idea of that being the cornerstone of this foundation's work, I hope you understand. If buying a sports team as a pathway to philanthropy surely sounds like a unique situation, it is. And if the idea of the rock star and the nun doesn't sound like a premise for a reality show, nothing does. My point is it worked, and it worked for us. So don't be afraid to think outside of those lines. Be creative. Look for unconventional partners. Seek out unique fundraising opportunities. The challenges ahead are too big not to think big. I believe that change is coming, but change cannot be just a political campaign slogan. It's not a bumper sticker or a t-shirt. Change will not happen by wishing for it. People want to help those in need. They sometimes just need to know how. Each one of you here today is here because you believe that you can affect that change. You believe that we can improve on the lives of those in need, but government cannot do it alone. The private sector cannot do it alone, but together and through the power of we can and we will. So today we acknowledge and we celebrate. Tomorrow it's back to work, together, raising the voices of the many in unison and as one. Thank you all very much for your time.
We weren't born